Nobody knew what to do, and my mother was in a proper was what was going to happen. So Dad said, would you take the girls if you want, but you couldn't part with us.
My father sat on the box and he cried and he said, there's nothing left round here. There's no children left. He was very upset, he told me. But my sister stayed. She was 6 years older than me. She didn't go. But when you haven't got anybody at all, at the beginning it's very hard. For the first fortnight I used to cry morning and afternoon. And then I got used to it.
Well, my parents decided that I would leave with the school, which was the Cattell school, and I was only 5 years old. I hate to think what trauma they went through to make that decision, but they did. And so I was taken to the Cattell school early in the morning to catch the boat with the rest of the school. The boat was cancelled. I was told to go back at 12 o'clock and then 4 o'clock, and then they said there would be one at about 10 o'clock at night. My parents said, well, he's been up since 4 o'clock in the morning. He's going to have a good night's sleep, and we'll take him first thing in the morning, catch that boat. It never went. The midnight boat went, so by default I stayed in Guernsey. As a parent now, I hate to think of me having to make those sort of decisions.
Living in the town was more difficult, I'm sure, than living in the country. And country people have said this because they managed to hide, perhaps, and swindle and grow things without Germans knowing. I mean, I'm not saying they had a lot of food, but they did manage more. The town people didn't have the gardens to be able to grow things. So it was difficult for them, and they relied on the market an awful lot, apart from their rations. And when the rations went down, it got far worse for them.
My father was able to grow vegetables and so on, so we weren't too bad in that area. But I can remember my parents always saying we had no meat, and then as the war went on, a lot of the basics disappeared. We had to gather it the best way we could, and I know that I remember going into the fields with my parents to gather the ears of corn that were left after harvesting. We'd extract the corn, grind it down into flour. We went on the beaches to gather carrageen moss, evaporated seawater, so we had salt. My father grew tobacco plants, I can remember that. He used to barter some of that for other goods.
The only stuff you got was what was brought over from France. And of course, once the British had landed in Normandy, everything was cut off, you know. And that was when we sort of started to suffer a bit.
When France was cut off, the D-Day landings, it was nobody, not even the Germans, had food. So they used to take more from our Guernsey, what was in the rations. They took more, but they felt it as well, and it was that last year was the worst.
We had to share and have communal kitchens in a lot of parts of the island just to keep going, and an average meal would have been just soup and a piece of bread. And there was a time when we didn't have any bread and no meat. So very, very difficult times. And it wasn't till the end of '44 that we had the first Red Cross parcels arriving on the Viga ship, which really saved the islands from starvation. And that was our one moment of joy during the occupation, to see that ship come in the harbour and to have our food parcel.
One of the highlights at the end of the occupation was our Red Cross parcels, which were amazing. And my brother nearly killed me because we each had our own Red Cross parcel, and they were, you know, absolutely fantastic, actually. And the first one that arrived, Mummy had said to us, you must all take your Red Cross parcels upstairs with you. You must be responsible for them, because the Germans were breaking in, actually. There were several awful incidents about people's Red Cross parcels being stolen, and worse than that, really. And so we took them up to bed, and Tony was allowed to go downstairs again. And while he went downstairs, I took his chocolate and ate it all. Well, he was incandescent with rage. And I remember my mother said, well, that was a very, very naughty, selfish thing to do. So the next time we have a parcel, which will come next month, you will give all your chocolate to Tony. And I had to, because I think he would have throttled me.
The parents had the worst time, and they went without for us children. I mean, that's been said before, and that's true, because they definitely went without for us. But we coped and managed, got thinner, people died of starvation.